What's going on, everybody? My name is John Poznansky. Next to me is Harry Ambrosio. Harry, we got a new journey on ahead of us, huh?
Yes, we do. And we want to welcome everybody to the first episode of Destination Talk with Paz and Harry. We want to thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We come to you from Chop Studios, located at 750 Route 34 in Matawan, New Jersey. A big thank you and a shout out to Dave for having us here. And I guess we're going to begin with what is the purpose of Destination Talk and why we are here. For us, this is a platform that we want to provide to athletes, both at the high school and college level, who can tell their story, who can speak to the trials and tribulations of what it is to be an athlete in school, going through the process of, the recruitment process and all of those things. And we want to be able to just share their message with you. Because I know for me personally, when I was going through this years ago, I didn't have this. And if I had had something like this, then I would have been able to have maybe made a decision that was a little different for me as I was going along. And so we hope that by having other athletes in here, coaches as well, that we'll be able to share some of their stories that will hopefully help you along the way on your journey as you go along.
Yeah, and I want to say to top that, the name Destination Talk
Yes.
came from Harry and I for the last 6 years, 5 years?
5 years now.
5 years before my wrestling season started, we go to Destination Dog in New Brunswick. It's a hot dog place, believe it or not.
A great place. If you love hot dogs, you got to go there. They're a fantastic place for hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not good for the weight cut, but
No.
we would go there every single year, and then we were trying to think about what the name for this podcast would be. And we were like, oh, well, we got to find our destination. What's your goals in life? So finding your destination, finding what your goals are, and kind of how people's journey got to where they are. So we'll talk to different people as time goes on and find out how their journey was through life, through sports, and all that.
Yeah, it sounds good. We're very excited, and we hope that you'll be excited as well as we go along on this journey, sharing everyone's messages, our own messages too. We have a pretty unique story, both of ourselves as well, that hopefully will resonate with our listeners and that you'll enjoy and want to keep coming back to hear more of.
Yeah. So let's start off. Harry,
Yes.
how did you get to here today? What was your journey like? Let's hear it.
Well, I guess my journey for me was, from an athletic perspective, I was a baseball player. So I spent 2 years at Brookdale Community College and then transferred to what is now known as Caldwell University. At the time, it was Caldwell College. And I have the distinct honor, along with my 11 teammates from back then in 1996, to have been on the first ever baseball team that the school ever had. So it was pretty cool. They're now a Division II program. So to kind of go back and know that you had the ability to lay some foundation for the guys that have come after you and are still there has been pretty cool. How I got into training, it really came out of necessity in some capacity. At one time I was working and I was laid off and I had free time. So I finally decided to say, I have this ability to kind of jump back into sports. And I went and got certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM, and I trained adults for 1 year, and it was fun. But after that first year, an opportunity to get into sports performance became available, and I knew in my heart that that's where I wanted to go. And, and then from there, it just kind of took off.
Mm-hmm. Did you like training kids more or adults more? Let me ask that question.
At the time, it was whatever was paying the bills, quite honestly. But, if I'm being fair, I enjoy working with the athletes. I can certainly resonate with them. I can pull on my own experiences. It's kind of cool to see how they are, what they're going through. And for full disclosure to our listeners, the guy sitting across from me is one of my athletes. We have been working together now for 5 years, and it's crazy to think it's been that long at this point. But it's a lot of fun. You get to see what all of you go through. And I'm certainly someone who's very invested in what my athletes are doing, both in the facility and outside the facility. I travel to as many games as I can, both in and out of the state of New Jersey. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, just the past 5 years, us together, I've gotten so much better in my own sport, and our relationship has, gotten really, really, really tight.
Yes.
So you do take a lot of pride in your athletes for sure. So how we met? Should we get into that?
Yeah, I think we should. I guess I can tell this story because obviously it came through me. So I was working at the gym, and a mutual friend of ours, who I actually trained when he was still competing, came through the door. And I don't think the conversation lasted more than 3 minutes. He came to me ready. He says, "I've got a guy. He's a senior. He's got a legit chance at winning the state title in wrestling in his weight class. He's got a condition. I'm going to send you information on it. Here's some videos of him. Do for him what you did for me." And he turned around and left. John and I know who he is, and that is pretty much how most of our conversations with him go. I sat there and just said, "What just happened?" But I didn't know what had occurred. Felt like a hurricane had just come through the building. And, sure enough, that was around the holidays of 2019. And not long after that, in January of 2020, we began our journey and of training. And I'll say this, the only wrestling I ever knew was of the WWE variety. The NCAA version was very foreign to me. So over these last 5 years, I've certainly taught myself the sport because I didn't really train anyone nor understand it. But I think that's one of the great things about how you and I have worked together is our relationship of the give and take that we've had.
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah, a lot of, I would ask you how many times, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. How does this apply?" You would do it, and then next thing we know, we come up with an exercise.
Yeah. When I started with you, I was slow feet.
Yes.
But as time went by, I gotten a lot quicker. And it just elevated my wrestling. So, and it goes for all sports. Harry trains football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, everything. So he's specialized in all of that.
Yes, and I think I'm taking on my first badminton player next week. So that's another sport that I'm adding to my tool belt of athletes I will be training. So I'm looking forward to that challenge as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, my journey with Harry has been great. Our relationship has gone more than just sports. I know he's a great friend of mine and everything, but
part of the family.
You are part of the family.
Part of the
100%.
family for sure.
He's been here through the highs of the highs and lows of the lows throughout my career this far. So, I guess I'll get into.
Well, I guess you should tell us who you are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it would be helpful if the audience knew a little bit about you for those who don't know about you.
Yeah. So my name is John Poznansky, and I am from Colonia, New Jersey. I wrestled. I did judo and jiu-jitsu growing up through elementary school, middle school, and then once I got into middle school, I started wrestling more. I was never really good in middle school. And then once I got into 8th grade, I kind of took a little more focus into it, went to a club, Yale Street Wrestling Club. And then once I got to high school, things kind of took off. My freshman year, I went blood round the New Jersey State Tournament. Sophomore year, I took 3rd. Junior year, I took 2nd. And then my senior year, when I met Harry, we ended up winning a state title. I was 40-0. So that was my high school career a little bit. And then getting into college, I decided to go to Rutgers University, wrestle in the Big Ten. And it's honestly the best decision I ever made. I live, 20 minutes away, and got to wrestle in front of my friends, my family, everybody, every week in the Jersey Mike's Arena, which is awesome. And I took 4th as a freshman in the NCAA tournament. And then it's been an up and down college career for me, battle injuries, and it's tough, but it's a grueling sport, and I enjoy it a lot. And I've definitely grown as a person more through my training, through my sport. So yeah, it's kind of that.
So what insight, John, could you add to the athlete who's contemplating, they're in the recruiting process of what is it like to be a Division I athlete in the Big Ten?
Yeah, it's an everyday job. It is a job. It's especially in wrestling, you got to your nutrition has to be on point. You're training 2-3 times a day, and then you got to do school on top of it. You got tutor sessions. So my day starts at 6-7 o'clock in the morning, and I don't finish my day till 9-10 o'clock sometimes at night. So it's an everyday process. It's grueling. It's a lot of fun though. I would definitely say when you make your choice on where you want to go to school, make sure you like who you're around, like the coaches, like the team, and enjoy where you're going to be. Because if if you're not, if I was in the middle of, for example, Oklahoma, Nebraska, something like that in the Midwest. I hate the Midwest. It's cold and not fun. There's nothing out there. But I wouldn't enjoy my time there. I enjoy my time, here. I'm a very family oriented person. Having my family close by, my club coaches. That was a big reason for me staying home. And of course, the coaching staff, the guys in the team. It all fell into place for me.
I think what's important to gain from what you just said is that a Division I athlete is very much like a full-time job. And when you take into account the academics and if you're there on scholarship and you have to maintain those grades, I don't think a lot of people realize just how much you have to put into what you're doing, especially for you. Your sport basically starts on September 1st.
Correct.
And runs right through till the mid to end of March. And you really don't get too much of a time off, because then if you're competing on the international stage right after that, once you get to May, it's like you're right in.
Yeah, there really is no time off. It's an all year round thing. If you're not training, you're recovering, you're getting ready for next year, you're watching film. There's so much that goes into it. It's not just what you guys see in that 7 minutes on the mat,
Right.
specifically in wrestling, or if you're playing football, that's 60 minutes on the field. So it's a lot that goes into it, and it's more than what everyone just sees. It's so much more behind the scenes.
Well, and having been working with you now for the last 5 years, I've certainly, as I said, I've learned a lot about the sport and seen what it entails.
Mm-hmm.
And Jen, also speaking to something that John had said earlier about a lot of the athletes I've worked with, I've been very fortunate and blessed. I've got numerous Division II and III football players. I currently have a guy, Sam Kamara, who's in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns, not to mention all my numerous high school and middle school athletes, one who is off camera at the moment, so I do want to give him a shout out. He is in the room here, our guy, Aaron from Westfield, who is in here, but he's off camera, but I want to just acknowledge the fact that he's here. He's a baseball player. We're at it every single week. We don't take any time off, and I think I think that kind of goes back to what I had said earlier of what that message is, and what we're hoping to get from this podcast is to educate and to just provide information to our listeners who can benefit from this. The real stories that can come from, because I think a lot of people get kind of enamored with the shiny object of what is
Mm-hmm.
the college sports, but they don't understand it. Even at the Division II and III levels,
Mm-hmm.
it's a grind.
Oh yeah, it's and just goes back to the name of it. What is our destination? We're talking
Right.
about getting, what are our goals? You set goals in life. I mean, one little thing is my freshman year, my sophomore year, I had the idea of putting the New Jersey State finals mat in Boardwalk Hall, and every morning I woke up and I was like, that's my goal. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to accomplish. And I did the same thing in college. I have the NCAA finals mat. So that's putting my goals into perspective and seeing how different people's journeys have gone, because people go up and down every day.
Yes.
There's no
Well,
just,
especially in your sport.
correct, yeah, but it goes for any sport, even in lifestyle. Just talking about, successful business people, where we might have them on the podcast. People who have been very successful and seeing their journey and seeing how they got to their destination, and that's the destination talk. So,
Yeah, I'm very excited for this, and I guess I'd like to touch on a little bit, maybe a little more detail of how has the training that we have done and
Mm-hmm.
what you have seen, because I know we talk a lot, and I know that
Mm-hmm.
you also tell me that a lot of the things we've worked on you've brought into your own room at Rutgers in some capacity. So how has it, like when you came to me and we first started, I will agree, he is correct. He had lead feet, but of course, just keeping it real.
Mhm.
But at the end of the
Agreeing.
day, 5 years later, I see a much better athlete
Mhm.
in front of me. Now that's through consistency and hard work and conversations that we have gone through. But how has the work, the speed, the agility, the plyometrics, the conditioning that we've done translated to you in the wrestling room?
yeah, just getting my feet faster for sure. Definitely that we always talk about 3 to 9.
Yes.
The 3 to 9 movement in wrestling. We're in a circle, so we got to be able to move 3 to 9 to get to different angles. So that main point right there is what got me from here to here. And definitely being more exposed on my shots, pushing off that back foot, finding those little fast twitch muscles, to get from point A to point B. And just, being more aware of my feet and where I'm at on the mat. Those little things, sometimes it's half a second, milliseconds
Yes.
that can make a huge difference. That goes for any sport.
Well, any
sport.
sport, yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're going in on a shot. If
Yeah.
you're just a split second too slow,
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference between getting your arms wrapped around the guy's leg or not. Or him being able to down block you or something of that nature. See, I told you,
Yeah, good.
I got a lot better with the terminology in this sport.
You have. You're getting a lot better in the wrestling terminology, Harry.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's been a great journey to this point. I know we've got 2 more seasons left of being able to watch you, and I'm kind of don't want it to end. But I mean, I don't know how much longer I can continue to do this with you either. It's
Don't
just,
worry.
it's going crazy.
We'll keep going. We'll keep going.
It's been going crazy. Yeah, and I guess just in speaking to what you said too, there's a mental side to this also, and and I think when you come in now, our relationship's a little bit different. We've been working together for quite some time, as we've said, but how does it feel like when you come out of a session and we've been able to talk? Is there a benefit to that to you as well? Because it's when you're in the wrestling room, it's one thing. When you're on the football field, it's another thing, whatever that might be. But for us too, we train, but we're also talking.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
like, how does that benefit you in our sessions?
The first word that just popped in my head when you asked me that was perspective.
Right.
Seeing a different perspective on the wrestling mat, in the wrestling room. I'm worrying about, not really worrying, but I'm more engaged into my
You're more
wrestling.
focused.
Yeah, more focused in that nature. But when I'm working with you, like I get to break things down even more, see the little things in my footwork, see the little things in my explosion, and us talking through each, movement or whatever, definitely makes it more sink into my brain and goes from there. You know what I mean?
Well, the training that we have done, I've certainly been able to carry over to a lot of my other athletes. A lot of times, I've had athletes say to me, "Where'd this come from?" And I've said, it was an exercise or a workout that Paz and I did. A term that I've also used a lot more lately is I feel like when I'm working with individuals like yourself or like the football players or Sam or any of that nature, is like the needle in the haystack. Like, you guys have all got pretty much the basis down of what you're doing. And now we're just looking to really fine tune the smallest points that if you're not aware of what you're looking for, they can go unnoticed, but they make a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's very sports specific.
Right.
All your workouts are tailored to football, wrestling.
Right.
And sometimes, they cross over.
Yeah. I like crossing over with
yeah,
that.
Yeah. Avery and I trained all summer together, and she's a
Lacrosse player at the University of Cal.
Yeah. So a lacrosse player and a wrestler, the workouts sometimes don't match up, but we found ways to, go from there.
Well, I think that kind of leads into something that a message that I convey to a lot of my athletes and their families as well is that, my background's in baseball. I don't even know if I could teach baseball the way it's being taught today because the game has changed so much. But my job, my responsibility to all of you is to teach you how to move more efficiently. And that's where I spend most of my time. You have wrestling coaches. Aaron's got his baseball coaches. Sam's got his football coaches. I'm here to help you move better so that when you go back to those coaches, you're making their job a lot easier. And I think in some ways, and I don't want to speak for myself, you can certainly add to this, that's why our training resonates in that you get a lot more out of it than just your typical show up, hey, warm up, do this, go home. Those are not our workouts.
No, yeah, we're putting 100%. We're putting a lot of work in. And like I go back to perspective, seeing the different types of training in what you do every day is going to elevate you even more. If I'm on the wrestling mat every day, it's going to get sometimes stale. You can't be stale. You got to be able to find different ways to train. Sometimes I'll go hit the heavy bag downstairs in my basement, or I'll do roll around the jiu-jitsu mat, or finding different ways to train too definitely keeps it more fresh in your brain, and it helps your sport get from one place to the next. And this is specifically great training for that nature.
Yes, and it's a great segue into what this podcast we hope is all about, is getting to many different destinations and realizing that there are many paths that you can take to get there. And it would behoove me not to include this, but I know how much you love my notebooks with all my workouts in them.
Yeah.
That's become a staple of me. My yellow legal pads or notebooks and flipping through the pages if looking to come up with some ideas.
Harry's very old school, guys.
Yeah,
very old school.
I'm pen to paper. This technology stuff is. I'm getting better with it, but I'm still a pen to paper guy.
That's why we got Aaron over here.
Yeah, that's why Aaron's here. Aaron's our technology guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm young, but I'm not, very tech either. So
I'm older, and I'm certainly not tech.
yeah. But we're gonna have a lot of guests on here. Like we said, some of Harry's athletes, some very successful business people, coaches, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions, we have an Instagram at destination_talk. You can message myself, John_Paz, or Harry at speedcoach_Harry. If you have any questions, feel free to message. Even if you have some question you want us to answer on the show, feel free to let us know. It could be life tips, training tips, anything about us. Yeah. Anything else, Harry?
I guess as we wrap up our very first episode of Destination Talk with Paz and Harry, I just want to reiterate and say thank you again for taking the time to listen to us. A huge thank you again to Dave and Chop Studios for providing us with this amazing setup. And we hope you are as excited as we are as we journey down this road of many destinations to hopefully answer and help you with as many different topics and questions that you might have. And we're very, very excited and looking forward to it.
Very, very exciting stuff to come ahead.
And I would say with that, that is, thank you again for joining us. This is episode number 1 of Destination Talk with Paz and Harry. Look forward to seeing you again.